My name is Elena. I am 43 years old and have spent the last few decades raising my son, Nathan. We had always shared a strong bond, filled with love and connection, but as the years passed, our relationship changed. Nathan grew up, went to college, and eventually moved to another city to start his career. I found myself alone, missing the days when he would run to me after school, laughing and excited to tell me about his day. It was the simple moments that I cherished, and as I aged, I couldn't help but feel the weight of time. As the years went by, I had been waiting for the right opportunity to visit Nathan. I had longed to see him, to be a part of his adult life, to share in his achievements and struggles. The distance between us had grown, not just physically, but emotionally. He had become busy with work and his social life, while I had stayed in our old family home, growing more distant from the world around me. But now, the chance had come. I was finally going to visit him in the city he had made his home. My heart was filled with anticipation and excitement. When I landed at the airport, my excitement quickly turned to confusion. Nathan had not been there to greet me as I expected. There was no familiar face waiting for me, no warm hug. I felt a pang of disappointment. The only person who greeted me was a young woman holding a sign with my name. She introduced herself as his assistant and informed me that Nathan was caught up at work. But the problem is, I had hoped to see him first, to feel his presence again. The news was a letdown, but I tried to push it aside and be patient. The woman led me through the airport and into a sleek black car. As we drove through the busy city streets, I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. The city was different from the small town I had grown up in, a place where life seemed to move at a slower pace. But here, everything was fast-paced and bustling. The buildings were taller, the streets were wider, and the noise was constant. I tried to focus on the sights, but my mind kept wandering back to Nathan. Was he really too busy to meet me? Did he even miss me? As the car made its way through the city, I felt a sense of unease creeping up on me. I had imagined this reunion for so long, but now that it was finally happening, I wasn't sure what to expect. I had built up this image of my son in my mind, but was it accurate? Had the years changed him in ways I couldn't predict? The thought made my stomach turn. I was about to meet a man I had raised, but hadn't really known in years. What if we had grown too far apart? Finally, we arrived at the office building where Nathan worked. The woman led me inside, and I followed her through the lobby, up the elevator, and to the top floor. My heart pounded in my chest as we approached Nathan's office. I could feel the tension in my shoulders, the fear that perhaps the distance between us had grown too wide to cross. I had raised him, loved him, and now it felt as if he had become a stranger. The woman knocked on the door, and we entered. Nathan was sitting at his desk, looking more serious than I remembered. He had always been a driven, focused young man, but the man before me was different. He was older, with sharper features and a look of concentration that I hadn't seen in his younger self. His gaze met mine, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us felt heavy. Then, with a smile that reached his eyes, Nathan stood up and walked toward me. "Elena," he said, his voice warm but laced with a tinge of regret. "I'm so sorry I couldn't make it to the airport. I've been tied up with work. It's been a crazy few days." He wrapped his arms around me, and I hugged him back tightly. I could feel the tension in my body melt away for just a moment. My son was still here. He was still the boy I had raised, even if his life had changed. "I missed you, Nathan," I whispered as we pulled apart. "I've waited so long for this moment. I thought maybe you didn't want me here." My voice cracked as the words tumbled out. It had been a long time since I had allowed myself to express my vulnerability like this. But the truth was, I was scared. Scared that he had outgrown me. Scared that our bond had weakened over the years. Nathan gave me a gentle smile and took my hand. "Don't be silly. I've been looking forward to this. I've just been caught up with work, but that's no excuse. I'm glad you're here, Mom." He led me to a comfortable seating area in his office, and we sat down together. There was a moment of silence before he spoke again. "I've been meaning to catch up with you. So much has changed since you last saw me. I've got so much to tell you." As he spoke about his work, his life, and his struggles, I realized just how much he had grown. Nathan was no longer the little boy who used to cling to me for comfort. He was a man with his own challenges, responsibilities, and dreams. He had found his path in life, and I couldn't help but feel proud of him. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The little boy who used to sit on my lap and tell me about his day was now replaced by this accomplished, busy man. We spent the next few hours talking, laughing, and catching up. It was strange, but I slowly started to feel more comfortable. The years had changed us both, but in a way, it felt like we were rediscovering each other. I realized that even though Nathan had changed, our connection was still there. It was just different now. And that was okay. Life had moved forward, and so had we. When the workday ended, Nathan took me out to dinner at a cozy restaurant in the city. The atmosphere was warm, and we enjoyed our meal while reminiscing about old memories and sharing stories. I was amazed at how much I had missed this. The simple act of spending time with him, of hearing his voice, of laughing together. It was all so familiar, yet so new. I realized that despite the distance between us, I still knew him. He was still my son, and I was still his mother. As the evening drew to a close, Nathan walked me back to my hotel. He gave me one final hug, his arms strong and comforting. "I'm really glad you're here, Mom," he said. "I love you." "I love you too, Nathan," I whispered, feeling a tear slip down my cheek. I had waited so long for this, and now that it had happened, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the depth of my love for him. He had become a man, but he was still my son. And in that moment, I realized that no matter how much time passed, that would never change. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about everything that had happened. I had come here seeking answers, seeking to reconnect with my son, and I had found so much more. I had found that love doesn't fade with time or distance. I had found that we may change, but the bond we share remains. And that was all I needed to know. I closed my eyes, finally at peace. The visit had been worth the wait.